Today we have a unique story, an Amazon journey with an Army chaplain living in Germany, selling in the US on Amazon. This is the My Amazon Guy podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Pope, founder of the agency My Amazon Guy. Tune in each week to learn how to grow your Amazon sales. I'm now joined by Josh Gilliam, owner of Coletti Coffee, and it's really great to have you on the show today. Thanks so much, Josh.
Absolutely, Stephen. Thanks for the invite. It's an honor to be here.
So you have listened to several of our podcasts, and you're currently a client of My Amazon Guy. Very early on, so I won't ask you how it's going yet. But I do want to focus on the uniqueness of you. You'll probably ever be the only Army chaplain I ever bring on the show. So let's start there. How long have you been doing this, and talk a little bit about your background?
Yeah. So, like you said, I'm an Army chaplain by day, active duty, stationed in Germany. Started this in 2015, October 2015. A bit of a story there. Do you want me to go into that a bit? Yeah. So, the Lord really burdened me for world missions. And we were looking for ways to get out and be part of overseas missions to the Muslim world. I had spent about a decade in places like Iraq and Afghanistan and Dubai and in various places in the Middle East, and realized that bringing the army or bringing democracy or bringing capitalism wasn't the way to go. And so really wanted to try to bring the good news of forgiveness. And we could
all use that in our lives, no doubt.
No, for sure. But every time I tried to get out of the army and pursue that path, the door closed. And so I was in prayer one day, and I felt, it wasn't an audible voice or anything weird like that, but I had this very strong sense of God saying to me, I want you to stay and excel in the grace of giving.
And so giving led you all across the world then, not only once, or, you served in the army then?
Yeah, I was in the army, and still am.
And now you're traveling a lot because of that. And now today you're in Germany. So, what has religion taught you to run your business? Like what could you apply from that forgiveness angle, that religion that has led to value in selling on Amazon?
Yeah, I think the obvious answer that people would expect me to say is, do unto others as you would have them do to you. Something that Jesus said, certainly something that Gandhi said and Muhammad said, and all the great religious leaders that have said it. But I think that it would be more accurate to say that lovers work harder than workers at the end of the day. And
that's interesting.
Yeah. What I mean to say is that if you're doing something, if your why is really strong, like you can endure any what.
If your why is really strong, you can endure any what. That's a good one to reflect on. I like that.
Yeah. And I feel like since the Lord invited me onto this journey, and I really felt that, like, no, God's inviting me to do this, then I've been able to work harder at it, probably at some odd hours than certainly I would have otherwise. So just when we overlay that, at least for me, the religion piece to it, it's enabled me to get up at the 4 in the mornings and to try to make this thing happen.
There's something there, especially since selling on Amazon is a side hustle for you. You really have to have a lot of energy to do that, don't you?
Well, yes.
and so for those that are watching us today, you'll notice that. So I'm in Georgia in the U.S. It's nice and sunny over here. Josh is in Germany. It's already dark over there. So he's actually on the porch today. And before we hit the record button, I asked him about his lighting. And he said, well, we could choose between good audio or good lighting. And I said, what do you mean by that? And then he revealed he's got 8 kids and 1 on the way. So your hands are full, to say the least.
My wife's a champion, for sure.
Yeah. So not only are you balancing a full-time job, which is spiritually powerful and allows you to give and keeps you going, no doubt about that. I'm a religious person myself. And the second thing is you've got a big family. I've got 3 kids under 5, and I say I have a handful, but there's no comparison between 3 to 8.
No, for sure. I mean, there's going from 0 to 3 is a way bigger difference than going from 3 to 8. So
I have heard that before.
Eventually, you go to zone defense, and it all works itself out. You know, one of the greatest things is actually having built-in babysitters now. So
yes,
off topic, but that's been
yes. I do look forward to that.
It's a good day
because three probably won't be my last, so I do look forward to that. But then add into the fact that you're traveling a lot, right? So like you've been all over the world. So that why versus the what that keeps you going. How do you pull off prosperity in all things? Like you're doing well in all of these areas.
Well, I'm not sure I'm doing well in all those areas.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that then. Where
is this counseling? I mean, what are your rates?
Yeah, there you go. All right, so how do you give and take then? How do you find that balance? Because I'm sure many people listening to this, they're juggling balls, and there's going to be one that drops occasionally, and they got to figure out which one to juggle today. And they're like, where do I focus? What would you say to them?
Yeah, there isn't a clean answer to there. I mean, a couple things. One, I find it really helpful. So Tim Ferriss talks about this from a secular point of view, if sizing up your day right at the beginning, and listing, the 3 or 4 things that are on your mind and are causing you anxiety, and then deciding which one, if I tackle today, will help me be able to win. Just pick one thing and do that one thing. That's the secular way to look at it, but what I do is I get up in the morning. I have to get up pretty early, and I'll write those same things down, and then I'll pray over those. And I say, Lord, which one do you want me to tackle today? So whether you're just using your logic or whether you're asking for some divine inspiration, really the process is pretty much the same. And saying, hey, there's only going to be 1 or 2 things that I can accomplish today. And the rest of it is just putting out fires, right? We're all busy. We live busy lives, and that's just the way it is. But if you can say, if I do this one thing today, I'm going to be successful. Over time, that adds up. And I just figure, I see that we go through seasons. Sometimes we need to surge on parenting and really work on big parenting projects. How do I, for example, this morning I was working on the 11-year-old adventure for my daughter. When they turn 11, I say, you can go wherever you want in the world. What do you want to do? And so then I plan a trip. Tomorrow morning, it might be trying to figure out the mini chat flow. And so it's sizing up the day at the beginning. And sometimes you're working in weeks or months, and really trying to decide whether asking God to help or just using your common sense and logic. What is the one thing I can accomplish today? Another thing I'd say about that too, Stephen, is there's been a lot of times over the last 5 years I've wanted to quit, and I've actually asked the Lord, hey, can I be relieved of this? If I can tell a few stories,
please. I think this is going to be the best part of the podcast right here.
Well, I remember, I guess it was 3 years ago, I didn't have enough money to reorder inventory. I just misjudged how much money it actually takes to, once you sell through your inventory to be able to order and have that in the system. The whole cash flow thing was new to me. I knew the Army. I mean, I was West Point 2000, was an infantry officer for 5 years. Got out, went to seminary, became a pastor, got back into as a chaplain. So I knew the Army, I knew ministry, I knew nothing about business. And so I just got myself in a bad situation where I just didn't have enough money to reorder because I didn't know what I was doing. And I can remember praying about it, God, okay, I guess that's it. Maybe I misheard you, etc. So the next day, I had a friend of mine named Pat call and said, "Hey, I was praying about you, and God basically told me to call you and say that what you're doing, you need to continue doing." And I said, "Okay, that's nice. I appreciate the sentiment, but
you weren't sure if that was the Lord's answer or not yet."
No. And so she says,
even the chaplain can doubt. It's true.
Absolutely. You don't know my life. And then she says, "No, I'm serious. Just to prove to you that I believe what I'm saying, I'm putting a check in the mail today for $40,000. If you pay me back one day, that's fine. If not, just know that this is from the Lord." And so anyway,
that's a pretty big miracle sign. Yeah,
it was. And so that sustained me for a year until a year later. And I'm at the end of my rope, and I was on a retreat at the Billy Graham Center. And they have a little prayer chapel up there. And I went in there and I said, "Okay, Lord, I'm done. I just can't do it. There's not enough time in the day. You got to send me help. You've got to, or else I'm out." Like you can't really do that with God, right? But I did. And so I got back home and I called a friend and I just said, "Hey, I'm thinking about selling the business. I can't handle it." He says, "Josh, hold on for a second. Let me make a phone call." And so he calls me back the next day and he says, "This is going to sound strange, but stay with me." He says, "So I have a friend of mine that's been working my business. He helped me take my business from 1 million to 20 million. Well, he just happens to be your college classmate. And it just so happens he just moved onto your street. I think you should go introduce yourself."
There's a few coincidences there. Yeah,
there was. And so
or divine.
I did. I gave Ken a call, and he's kind of been my operations and finance guy ever since. And I could continue telling stories, Stephen, about how God has continued to say, "How one should excel in the grace of giving." But it answers your question of how have you been able to balance things and just endure in the midst of a busy life. And I know we all have busy lives. So I think it goes back to grabbing that why. What is my why? Because if you have a strong why, then you can endure any what.
So let's talk about what you sell now. So you obviously sell coffee related items. Walk us through your portfolio.
Yeah, so we don't have a super robust portfolio. We sell coffee percolators, various sizes, various kinds, the parts, accessories. We're expanding from that in the coming months. We have a number of items in the pipeline that we're getting ready to launch for Christmas that are in the kind of the outdoor coffee making space.
And for somebody who doesn't drink coffee like me, explain what a percolator does.
Do you remember, and maybe your grandpa, if your grandpa drank coffee, Stephen, he probably drank it from a percolator. And so we're kind of one of the taglines on an ad we just did that I think I sent to you, and you're like, "Bro, you need to use that on Amazon video ads," and it's done fantastic. Basically just says, "Hey, drink coffee like your grandpa did."
So one of the questions we'll talk in more detail about is decisions, things that have gone bad and things that have gone well. And I would say that the video ad for you was very timely because we've seen video ads just do fantastic on Amazon. So if you're listening to this and you don't have video ads, go shoot your video. Josh, you've got a track record of having success here. So go ahead, reenact that video for us, Josh. No, I'm just kidding.
well, on that note, so we sell coffee mugs as well. And so I just did still images in iMovie, set it to music, and did the Ken Burns effect, and that's profitable as well. And so right now it's any man's game for video ads on Amazon.
There's definitely a huge opportunity with that. and there's no doubt that video is going to outperform non-video advertising because it's harder to do. It takes investment, and sometimes what you shoot versus what you're expecting could be different. There's all kinds of things that would go into the shoot. But my word of advice, my default marketing philosophy to our listeners is something is better than nothing. Just start with something, because in the early entrance, even something limited will be better than nothing. All right, so let's dive into that then. So how long have you been selling on Amazon?
Since early 2016.
And what have you learned along the way? So you mentioned inventory woes. We could talk there, but what have you learned throughout the early part of your business versus now?
I think you framed it earlier of what are some of your big mistakes. So I remember one time we lost 25 grand, and so our supplier emailed us, or so I thought it was our supplier, and said, hey, we have to change our bank account because, our assets got frozen, or I don't know, hey, send it to this bank account. And what the person had done is they had basically cloned the email address, but changed one character. He changed like an O to a U. And so it looked like it was the same person. And I ended up, wiring the money to, well, it was a gift to some enterprising young man somewhere. And so that hurt for sure.
There are members of the world who are trying to put food on the table and are willing to steal, cheat, and do whatever it takes to survive. And us Amazon sellers are competing against that. Members in China who are now going direct to consumer on Amazon.com are great examples of that. Every week I hear about a hijacked listing or some other cheap shot, whether it's fake reviews, whatever it might be. So we're all facing that. It sounds like that particular theft did not have a happy ending.
No, Wells Fargo said, hey, since you confirmed it, the onus is on you. And they're right. And so we just put a lot more, steps in there now. And actually we've had suppliers legitimately change bank accounts, but you better believe I'm going to be double, triple confirming that before we send that wire now. Yeah, for sure.
So that one really stung, I can imagine. How did you get up the next morning and face the music, so to speak? Like, what did you do to get over that one?
Well, luckily that was in February. And so it was in January where I had the story I told about Kin. And so my why in February was really strong. And that's just the cost of doing business. I think Norm Farrar said in one of your podcasts a week ago, you got to pay your taxes.
I thought that was a great phrase about having to pay taxes, right?
And I've paid a lot of taxes because, like I said, I got into this not knowing the first thing about business. And so my first product was something I just made up. It was a 10-piece pour-over kit. And I spent probably $80,000 on that. And it was a total flop. I don't think I recovered but half my money. There went my savings. But I did product research and initial ordering differently afterwards. You better believe it. And so I think what I've done is I've lost a lot of money just not knowing the first thing and having to learn it the hard way.
I have grown my company really fast this past year, and I've hired a lot of employees. And the number one theme that I've gotten week one, I hired 2 employees that started Monday, in fact, was, man, I didn't realize how hard it was to sell on Amazon. There's just so much navigation, right? And it's really difficult to know what you don't know. Pay your tax, however you need to learn that information. So that definitely resonates. I think that'll resonate with our listeners. So what did you do to learn and figure out those key things?
So podcasts has been, the podcasts are hit or miss. There are good ones and the bad ones. What I really realized is that I needed help. I needed to increase my network and include people in my network that weren't just missionaries, weren't just chaplains, weren't just Army officers, weren't just family, but folks that actually knew business. And so I just began to surround myself or try to surround myself with people that had gone before me, so that I can consult and bounce ideas off of before I move forward. The second thing I did is to develop some business rules, some SOPs, some decision matrices, so that it's like investing. You can get caught up in the moment and make an emotional decision if you don't have rules that govern your behavior and prevent you from thinking irrationally. And so, just bringing up a Word document, establishing some rules, talking to some friends, saying, hey, do these make sense to you? And then committing to those rules is as governors to behavior. I think saved my bacon a time or two, and it's probably why we're still in business today.
Well, that's a good thing. We have spent a significant amount of time building standard operating procedures ourselves, and one of the people in my network said, "Make the SOP so easy to follow that it's idiot proof." And so we're very much investing in that right now. As we scale at a rapid pace, the way we've kept up with it is to have very thorough documentation. So I definitely would endorse that statement, no doubt. Yeah. All right, so let's talk other good decisions that you've made, or successes that you're willing to share that others could replicate. So we've talked about video ads, SOPs. Anything else that you think somebody should follow to replicate to help increase their own sales?
Stephen, I don't think I'm in a position to be recommending much at this point.
Okay.
I'm thankful for the success that we have and that we're able to grow modestly and hire a few people, but I still very much am in the learning phase. And one of the reasons why I came to my Amazon guy, because I'm still not yet trusting of my own decisions and wanting to get advice from people that are in the industry, and to surround myself, as Scripture says, with the multitude of counselors. And so I don't think I have that thing yet that I'm willing to say, "Hey, folks, take it from me." But Lord willing, one day.
So what I would respond to that would be, a year, 2, 3, 4 years from now, you're going to look back and say, it might have been humility, because that was a very humble answer that was allowed you to take your stripes, so to speak, keep getting up and keep going. So I actually appreciate the honesty of that answer. I think it's a great answer, even though you may not feel like it was. All right.
Well,
so
one of the things, if
sure.
I can piggyback on that, is one of the things I think we might have done well is I keep telling the team when they want to cut a product that's not doing great, is if we can just be the last man standing. What I mean is, if we can keep these products alive at the break-even point, there's going to be a time like COVID where they'll be very profitable.
Yep.
Yeah, well, they'll be very profitable. And so there is something to just the long obedience in the same direction, as Eugene Peterson says, that I'm believing will pay off. I'm believing there's wisdom in perseverance.
That, in my opinion, I think that's the hardest commandment from God, is perseverance. Loving your neighbor is tough, but loving your neighbor every day, that's even harder.
No, well, one thing I would like to say to those that are just getting started is the idea of starting your own business and running an Amazon company and and doing e-commerce is super sexy and romantic at the beginning.
Wait! You don't think Amazon's passive income? I make sure I make a jab at that almost every podcast because
I think a lot of us. I certainly went in with just some romantic ideas that this will be easy. I know how hard can it be? I'm a smart guy, and
we all have that Superman complex, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, it's like marriage. Honestly, we go into marriage thinking, I'm gonna feel the same way about this woman for the rest of my life that I do right now. And then you get to the 8th month point, and you're like, who are you? Who did I marry? And then it's that decision to continue to press forward that allows you to make something.
A wise person once told me that you marry 4 women, and I may or may not quote this correctly, but you marry the woman that you dated, you marry your pregnant wife, and then you marry the wife with kids, and then the empty nester wife. And so there's a change along the way in all of those aspects, I can imagine. But if we tied that to business, be careful who you go into be a business partner, right? Same concept. Maybe date before you get married. Hey, you got a great idea and they've got a great idea and you guys want to both make money, but that's insufficient, right? Like without a good fit in all of those ways. Do you have any advice you would say on business partnerships?
I don't. I haven't had a partner, but
I had a failed one, but I'm a solo entrepreneur today, owning my own agency and side hustle.
But I would say though that it doesn't, just like I would counsel somebody that's getting married that, hey, this isn't the perfect person for you. Ideally, it's a decision that you're going to make to love her or to love him. That's going to make this sweet for 80 years. And I would say that in business, it's the same. If you get a year into your business and say, you know what, I think I probably started the wrong business, you're probably going to repeat that process, 3 or 4 times until you're out of money and decide business isn't for you. Like you have to commit to the girl and persevere through. I'd say in most cases. I know there's cases where it's different than marriage and you just need to cut your ties. But I think that the semi-perfect business stuck to with perseverance is going to be successful, rather than constantly chasing the perfect love.
So speaking of chasing, as we look ahead, what are you looking to do in the next 5 years?
Well, in 5 years, our goal is to be able to fund the Great Commission. It's kind of technical Christian language for getting the good news of forgiveness to the peoples of the world that have not heard. And so we exist to fund the Great Commission among the unengaged. So there's populations that are being persecuted for their religion or lack thereof. And so we want to try to take our profit and leverage it towards, in a secular way, religious freedom, but from my Christian perspective, getting the gospel to people that would not have access otherwise. So in 5 years, we want to be able to give $1 million a year towards that cause, and so we're committed to giving all profit to charity. Right now, we have some profit, and we are giving, but it is modest. I'm not taking a salary right now because I have a very good job. I'm a lieutenant colonel in the Army, and so that has enabled us to continue forward in our the philanthropic mission. And I'm hoping in a couple of years to be able to transition out of the Army and to do this full time. I hit retirement. It's right. Just early in the Army.
Yeah.
I still feel very young, but I feel like the Lord has invited me to get out, do this full time, and to try to really build a team, bigger than the kind of the 5 or 6 people doing, kind of part time right now, but to build something that will last and will generate money for that purpose for decades.
Well, it sounds like you're building the company to hold and not build to sell. And so you're investing with that perseverance long term. I hope it pays off. Josh, I really appreciate you joining us on the My Amazon Guy podcast.
Somebody told me a business committed to giving all profits to charity is worth nothing to people that are looking to buy.
That actually makes sense. But
so I think I'm stuck with it regardless.
But nonetheless, I hope you succeed, and that is a very worthy cause. There's no doubt about it. You don't need me to tell you that. You already know that. But nonetheless, it's worth recognizing out loud.
Thanks, Stephen. I received that.
So as we part here, do you have any last thoughts you'd like to share?
I don't think so. I would say that I've only been a client, or I think I would be considered a client of My Amazon Guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
For about 3 or 4 weeks now, but I've been how do I say it? I have been challenged and surprised and encouraged at where your forum is going to take our company. And so, thanks, brother.
Well, thank you as well, brother. And I hope we do succeed with you. I hope we're a part of your success in your journey. And I know that we're just one stop along your way to achieve that commission mission, if you will. Well, cool. Thank you for coming on the podcast today. This was Josh Gilliam of Coletti Coffee. And Josh, if anybody wants to get in touch with you for any reason or purpose, where can they contact you?
Yes, I'm a Gen Xer, so email's still the best probably for me. Josh at ColettiCoffee.com. That's COLETTI coffee.com.
We'll put the email address in the show notes since Josh was willing to share that. And if you need to get in contact with Josh, you can. All right, that's our podcast today. Thank you so much for listening into the My Amazon Guy podcast, where every week we talk to somebody and try and share any insight on how to grow your Amazon sales. This was the My Amazon Guy podcast with Stephen Pope. Each episode helps you grow your sales on Amazon through ideas on traffic and conversion rate improvements. Hit that subscribe button right now to tune in each week. And if you need more help, go to myamazonguy.com.